Here we go. It is finally time to take a look at Christy, a new film that will be released on November 7th, except tonight it was Regal's mystery movie. Or yesterday, I should say. Now, this film is one of those movies that I was very intrigued to see because I know the story of Christy Martin. I know what ends up happening in the movie as somebody that enjoys combat sports. But what I was really looking forward to is to see how it all played out on the screen. Now, as this movie was announced for Regal's mystery movie, you saw Sweeney come up on the screen. I will admit, Sweeney, for the most part in this movie, did an exceptional job. There were parts in the movie where she could have shown a little bit more emotion, but nonetheless, she did an exceptional job for the role that she needed to take on. Now, this film is a boxing biopic of the star Christy Martin, who is honestly, male or female, one of the more interesting and more intriguing fighters to come through the ranks. She broke down walls, she broke down barriers, and ultimately she is an icon, not just in women's boxing, but also boxing in general. Now, this story is going to tell the life and really the rise of her performance in boxing, coming from a coal mining family in West Virginia, hence the name The Coal Miner's Daughter. And ultimately, she finds Jim Martin, who becomes her trainer and her husband. Now, the issue that I have with this movie is you start to hate the characters very early on, and that does not lead. That's not really an issue, but it's something that I notice. When you are looking at this, you get to see the beginning, and I was a little worried in the first half of the movie as you sit and watch some of the boxing sequences. You see these clean KOs and everything is one way, but honestly, when you are looking at a movie that is a biopic or even a boxing or combat movie, you want it to have that believability. You want to make it feel like you are actually in that arena watching a fight. And I have to admit, the beginning of this movie was not the case. There were scenes, it was so fast-paced, and you kind of didn't think that you were watching a fight. You really didn't know what you were watching. But then in the second half of the movie, you get a better understanding, and they do a lot better job of displaying a combat setting in the fighting scenes. And so for that, I'm going to give them that credit. There was improvement as the film goes on. But what you really see is a struggle of who Christy Martin was. In one sense, she has to put on an act because her mom and dad want her to kind of believe one thing about her personal preference in relationships. But then she goes off and she marries Jim Martin. Not really, it seems like by choice, but kind of by force. Now, Jim Martin is somebody in this movie that is a terrible person. And you watch this movie and you understand the jealousy that he had for Christy. And honestly, any movement or money or success that she had, he felt like he had to put his stamp on it. And in real life, I know that to be the case from interviews and things that I have read. And I think they do an excellent job of highlighting that within this film. But then when you bring in other characters, Rosie, who is the love interest / friend, teammate of Christy Martin at the time, you kind of get an understanding of why they have to keep their distance, but they always are going to need each other. Then when you get into the relationship with Jim and even her mother, let's just talk about her mother. If her mother was really like this in real life, I'm going to read more into that today. Her mother is the true supervillain of this movie. I have never wanted to reach in a screen this year and grab somebody by the neck and just smack them. Because her mom, if this is all true, is an absolutely horrible person. She is the reason that the situation in the movie takes place. But yet she tries to blame Christy. Now, as the movie goes on, you kind of have to look at it and think to yourself, where are the critics going to like or dislike it? And I think the one common thing that I've read is people don't think Sydney Sweeney was a good choice to play Christy Martin. And what I can honestly say is she did an exceptional job in this film. When you watch her take on this role and you watch her in the scenes, you're hoping that she can play what needs to be on the screen accurately. And I would say about 90% of the time she does a great job. And when you look at the movie as a whole, for me, I don't care what other people think, to be honest. For me, this movie is a 4.5 out of 5. I thoroughly enjoyed this movie from start to finish. I enjoyed the roller coaster of emotions that it takes you on. I enjoyed the acting. Now, there are some things that could have obviously been done differently, where it's the dialogue between Jim and the parents, where you kind of see them blaming Christy for the situation. The fighting sequences in the early stages are very underwhelming, but then it picks up, so it does kind of rewrite itself. But this movie was incredible. I'm leaving the theater tonight, or yesterday, I keep saying tonight, but today, thinking to myself, I cannot wait till next Friday to go see this movie again. Christy is a powerful story about a woman who had great success in boxing, overcame so many struggles, and honestly, I think this is a movie that you should see when it comes out. So, Christy will be out next week. It is a movie that I do recommend you go see, but stay tuned. There are more reviews coming. Tonight, I'm going to go see one of Regal's Screams, which I think is The Bride of Frankenstein. There's no review on that, but that's just the point. Hit that subscribe button. Stay tuned for more videos, and I will talk to you all later.